Hey seedlings, welcome to the Podficker Baton Pass for Traffic Light Trio by Itslivybear. The way this works is that I'm reading chapter 34, Lynx the Cat Podfix read the previous chapter, and Froggy Fan 14 will be reading the next chapter, passing along who will be reading Traffic Light Trio until the podfic is finished. I hope you enjoy! How? Overhaul seemed to be torn between being pissed and being confounded, but Izuku grinned. Guess it didn't take. Sorry, bud. Overhaul growled and leveled his gun. Then I'll just have to change targets. Izuku darted forward, throwing out his arms to rip the gun out of Overhaul's hands, but a gunshot still rang out from the other side of the room. His eyes widened, and he flung out one of the whips. Black whip, something in him whispered, to intercept it before it could hit its intended target. It was too fast for him, but Momo whipped out a shield, and Gran leapt out of the path of the bullet. Brat, he spat. Respect your elders. Lemillion, give me the kid. I'll get her out. Nemoto Shin, the one who had shot, ran over to his boss, Chronostasius, close behind, and the latter took a pose of defense, gun cocked and pointed at the heroes, while Nemoto worked on the bracelet. The heroes, in the meantime, spread out. Gran darted back into the hallway where they had come from, and Sir Nidai, Genesis, and Yellow Shock took up positions around Lemillion. Izuku himself backed up, standing in between Denki and Mirio, Black Whip still curling dangerously and ready to pounce. So, what the heck is that? Denki murmured out of the side of his mouth. I have a stockpiling quirk. Looks like it doesn't just stockpile strength. Denki's eyes blew wide. Holy shit, and you're number 9? Sweet! Focus, Nine-Eye barked. We have to move before they get the cuff off. Chronostasius swung the gun around. Like we'll let you get close. Lemillion grinned and disappeared into the floor. Instead of shooting him when he came up, Chrono launched his hair at the boy, and Lemillion was forced to slip back to his original spot. Ah! Overhaul spat. Stop! There was a sharp crack, and the bracelet clattered to the ground. With clenched teeth, Overhaul reset his broken hand and flexed his fingers with disdain. Now, he snarled, let's fix these fools. He slammed his hands on the ground, and the room split in two. Izuku had time to make eye contact with Momo before they were completely cut off. On one side was Genesis, Lemillion, and Gran Torino, who was currently running with Eri, facing off against Overhaul and Nemoto. On the other, Yellow Shock, Green Lightning, and Sir Nidai facing off against Chrono. Divide and conquer, Izuku hissed. Smart. Shock stores? Enough for all the tasers you could want and maybe 2 Indus shocks. Battery storage? Enough to restart me 3 times. Izuku bit his lips. That wasn't a lot. They must have encountered a lot of resistance on the way in to have his stores so low. Chronostasius cracked his neck and strolled forward. The Hasaikai will defeat you and rise again. Izuku rolled his eyes. You couldn't even erase my quirk. The bullet just fell out and boom, new power. I thought Overhaul said the formula was complete. Chrono sneered and leveled the gun at Denki, and all 3 of them tensed. willing to bet your friend on it? Izuku didn't even think before black overtook his vision. Izuku! Izuku! He blinked and gasped for air, sitting straight up. Denki, what happened? Yellow eyes blinked at him, concerned. You went, apeshit. Knocked the baddie out, got shot again, looked like a floating eldritch monster, but the good kind, and then passed out. Are you okay? I floated? What is this? Buy one, get one free quirk day? No, that's not important. We need to get back to the fight and overall. Izuku shot to his feet and slammed his fist in the wall. He hissed in pain and drew back, shaking it out. Why didn't... He took a deep breath and went to feel the well of One for All inside him, but it was dimmer, and every time he tried to grab it, it slipped through his fingers like it was made of jelly, sliding back into its well. His eyes flew open. Denki, he squeaked. Did I float before or after I got shot? After? So I still had the quirk then? Denki looked up alarmed. Shit, they didn't work, did they? You still have your quirk? Iida also stiffened. If it is gone... No. Before they could catastrophize. It's still there. It's just, dimmer, and I can't use it. Almost like it's recovering. We might be out of One for All for now, but we have to get to Eri. Denki whirled to Iida. You still have those heavy seals, right? They should be able to dent the wall at least. Iida nodded, stepped back. As soon as they were clear, he threw one of his stamps, and with a thunk, there was a web of cracks emanating from a small crater formed, the seal slowly falling out into the ground. 2 more seals followed shortly after, deepening the crater and widening the cracks until he stooped to pick up the seals he had already thrown, apparently out. Eri, you can prevent anyone from being hurt. You know what you have to do. They all tensed, and Izuku hissed. Fuck, we don't have time for this. Brute force it is. Izuku knew he couldn't use One for All, but he was still strong. The wall was weaker. If he was careful and paid attention to forms, then... He stepped forward and set his stance, breathing low. For Eri. He slammed his body weight behind the punch and felt the wall, and also maybe his knuckles, cracking. He could tell he was hurt, but it was a dull throb, and the wall had shuddered. One more, and... He called up every drag of strength he could muster and leapt forward. He could feel the wall hesitate, then sag under his power, crumbling around him in a spiderweb of concrete. He stumbled through the hole and gently brushed off his knuckles. No time to focus on his injuries. The scene he, Denki, and Iida walked out to was horrible. Overhaul was an amalgamation of... Oh, God. Nemoto was gone. He had fused himself with his subordinate. Eri was being held back by Momo, while Lemillion tried his damnedest to take down Overhaul, and Gran was on the ground, clutching his shoulder and trying to stop the trickle of blood. The old man looked up and grinned viciously. Oh good, the cavalry's here. I'm afraid I won't be quite as useful. My kick is still mean, but I probably won't have as much power behind. Sir Iida sucked in a shuddering breath. You mean... Oh, Sorahiko. Shut up, brat. I can still kick your ass. Boy, help out your senpai and tell the girl to stop trying to throw herself into danger. Izuku wrenched his eyes away from the bullet wound in Gran's shoulder to look at Eri, tearfully crying and struggling against Momo's grip, begging to be let go. Eri, he breathed. Why? She looked at him tearfully. The princess has to go back and save the dragon from the evil knights. If I go back, he won't hurt anyone else. You'll be safe. His breath caught in his throat. No, Eri, no. That's not what the story meant. The princess got out too, and we're safe. We're all fine. But you weren't. He'll just do it again. We don't have time for this, Night-Eye snapped. Genesis, contain the girl. Green lightning and yellow shock help Lemillion. No! Eri cried, stretching her hand out to Izuku as he prepared to run in, powers or no, and the horn on top of her head became wreathed in a golden light. Momo's glove came unraveled, reverting back to their basic components before turning into air, leaving her hands exposed. On instinct, Momo let Eri go, and she dashed forward, running for overhaul. Izuku was not about to let that happen. She screamed as he scooped her up, but her struggle just turned into plaintive cries. Please, she begged. I'm cursed. You'll just get hurt again. Please. He tightened his grip on her, running a hand down her back. It's okay. It's going to be okay. The dragon protected the princess, right? It's going to... He blinked as he felt One for All well up in him again, just like it had been before. His hand stopped aching, and he sucked in a breath. All the pain was gone. And then, suddenly, it was back, all over, and he tumbled to his knees, but his grip never faltered. Please, she sobbed. I don't want you to disappear. You have to let go. Killing him with your curse, Eri. He tried so hard to save you, and you're killing him. I should have left him as a blood splatter in the alleyway. It would have been kinder. Izuku grit his teeth and swallowed through the pain, calling on every power he held and looking to overhaul, carelessly dodging Lemillion with angry gold eyes locked onto him and the child in his arms. The pain lessened as One for All fought against Eri's quirk, keeping him teetering on the edge of breaking in 2 ways, and he could feel the flick of black whip as it sprung from his arms and embedded itself in the concrete and helped him climb to his feet, then about a foot off the ground. He was overwhelmed with anger at Overhaul and heartbroken love for Eri, sobbing into his jacket. He grinned viciously, Black Whip helping him shift Eri from his arms to his back, and he clenched his fists. The green light never stops. I think I've gotten shot twice now, and Eri's power is not a curse. Without it, I wouldn't be able to stand. Or, well, float. But nothing you do is going to stop me. I can promise you that. Overhaul stared at him for a moment before the walls slammed down, and he slammed a hand onto the unconscious and bloody Chronostasis, forming a horrific monster from the mass he had acquired. We shall see. Hand her over and you will live. No thanks. Overhaul roared, and the floor roiled and rolled. Eri was secure against his back, even as she sobbed, and he rolled on the balls of his feet as the floor suddenly came up to meet him, like he was on the train and not holding on to the railings, shifting his weight to keep his balance, and then the sky opened up and the floor rose to meet it, carrying Izuku and Overhaul with it, but leaving everyone else behind, underground. He heard the cries of his friends, but he just gave a wicked grin. And now, separated from your friends? Izuku chuckled. That just means I don't have to hold back. This isn't my first kidnapping, Chizukai, and with my luck, it won't be my last. Damn right it won't, brat. Izuku turned his head sharply to see the grinning face of Shigaraki Tomura, surrounded by his league of villains. Hey, that's our line. Turning to the other side showed the Stain groupies, for lack of a better name, and Izuku did a double take, looking between the two groups in confusion. Twice is here. Twice. That's my name. Don't wear it out. Yeah, of course I'm here. Wait a goddamn minute. The two Twices stared at each other before they both let out screams of pure rage, pointing to each other. Toga and Spinner looked at each other before Toga stepped forward with a nervous smile. We're gonna come back later. This is a bad time. Shigaraki nodded. Yeah, it really is. Oi, Flag, fuck up the bird bitch, okay? We'll come kidnap you later. Izuku blinked. Please don't, he said mildly. Both groups dragged away their screaming twices. Seeing Overhaul was still distracted, Izuku sprinted forward, no doubt leaving dents in the concrete from the full unleashed power of One for All that sent his bones creaking and slammed a knee under Overhaul's jaw, forcing his head to crack back. Overhaul gave a gargled scream and righted himself, eyes blazing with fury. "You filthy—" Izuku willed Black Whip to wrap around him and slammed him into the ground, cutting off whatever insult he was about to spew with a solid crunch. He coughed and stumbled to his feet, but Izuku wasn't done, slamming him into the ground over and over again. "Please, just fall unconscious. This feels violent, even for you." Overall shuddered, but he did not get up. He managed to slowly turn his head to look at the floating boy who had so soundly taken him out, his prize on his back. She will kill you. She is a curse set to rewind you out of existence like she did to her father. No matter how much you resist, you will die, and it will be all her fault. Do you think you'll be able to live with that?" He passed out before Izuku could answer, but Eri resumed crying with a force, and Izuku gently set her on the ground with a wince. He powered down as much as was reasonable in a live combat situation. He could still hear people fighting the street over, and the Black Whip wrap around her in a semblance of a hug. He could feel her power, rewind, threatening to overcome the strands of energy, but he just poured more power into them, ignoring the creaking of his bones. "Eri," he said softly, "can you breathe with me?" She hiccuped and rubbed her eyes. You have to get away. I don't want to turn you into nothing." "And you won't," he soothed, "but I need you to breathe. Your quirk is working off your emotions, and if you breathe with me, we can turn it off. And then there's no chance of you hurting me, okay? Here, watch me. In." He sucked in a breath, over-dramatic and with hand motions. And out. He expelled all the air in his lungs. She was still hiccuping, disrupting her airflow, but she did her best to follow along with him. After several more tries, the glow from her horn faded, and it shrunk into a little nub. She took a shuddering breath and sniffed, but seemed much more calm. He smiled. "There we go, all safe." Finally, clawing their way to the surface, the rest of the heroes sprung up, startling her, and her breath hitched again. But he just got closer and held out a hand, catching her attention. "Shh, shh," he murmured. "It's okay. It's just my friends from before, the other heroes. Look, there's Lemillion. Genesis is the lady with the big ponytail and the red outfit. And Yellow Shock, that's my friend, Denki. He's on a hero team with me, which is why we kind of match." She blinked in confusion, and he chuckled, patting his left arm. "See this patch? We all have one. Me, Denki, and A, also known as Red Riot. On mine, the green light is lit up, see?" She inspected the patch and saw that, yes, indeed, the spot where the green light was done in a brighter color than the dull red and yellow lights to show up that was the one lit up. "See, my buddy has one too, on his back." Denki obligingly turned around and pointed his thumbs to the patch on the back of his jacket. Like Izuku, the yellow light was done in a much brighter color, making it stand out and clearly show who the jacket belonged to, highlights and lightning details aside. "And our last friend, he's the red light, because he can stop every bad guy." She sniffed and looked back at the patch on his arm, entranced. "You said you'd never stop." He beamed. "Yep, that's my thing. Denki's thing is that if you see him, you better slow down, or then we'll show up and you'll really be screwed. Better to just surrender to him before we show up. He's really clever and funny. I think you like him. He also has a dangerous golden power, but he's gotten way better. Maybe he can help you out." She looked back at Denki, who gave a wry grin and sat down cross-legged beside them, but slightly out of reach so he didn't spook her by getting too close. I don't know, Zuko over here helped me more than I ever helped myself, but I like his confidence in me. I'm glad you're okay, Eri. Behind them, Night-Eye swept through the area as police arrived, steering everyone clear of the brightly colored hero huddle on the ground and dealing with Overhaul. Momo gently set herself on the ground beside Dinky. Hello, I'm Genesis, or just Momo is fine. Would you like a teddy bear? Eri cocked her head and furrowed her brow. Izuku snapped his finger. Like a cuddly toy. Momo looked stricken when she realized that Eri didn't know what a teddy bear was. Eri looked at Momo with wide eyes. Can it... She glanced a glance back to Izuku. Can it be a dragon? A green one? Izuku felt his breath catch, and Momo smiled and did just that. She clutched it to her chest and looked up at Izuku with bright and determined eyes. Now I can protect the dragon, no matter what. Izuku sucked in a breath and pulled Eri into his lap. Yeah, he choked out. You can. Just like the princess. All for One cocked his head in confusion. Tomura, you're back so soon? Twice had a mental breakdown because the other players had it twice too, so we came back. Izuku looked like he had it handled though, so it's fine. He did? Against Overhaul? Yeah, he was floating and had these black tentacles. It was kind of weird, but he looked fine. Float, you say, and black tentacles? That is interesting. His lack of a quirk, perhaps? Or a mutation for All for One? Perhaps. Tomura shifted. Sensei? Nothing. Mere musings. You did not take the boy as you had planned, however. Tomura shrugged. We'll just do it later. I have a better plan to capture the flag and beat out those damn losers. We're gonna win the game and score way more than them for sure. All for One, known by many names, but once a Shigaraki Hisashi, chuckled to himself. Tell me about your plan, my boy. Tomura lit up and began to ramble, clearly having thought this out, and Hisashi smiled. He would have to look at the police reports later to see how his son was doing. Gran, stop fussing, Toshinori. It's unbecoming. I'm an old man anyway. I wouldn't have been able to use my quirk for much longer anyway. Torino clicked his tongue. Would you have liked to kick that bastard in the face one more time? Oh, look, your boy's on TV. Toshinori spun around to face the TV hospital, replaying the scene where Midoriya had risen from the ground, floating and whirling black whips, keeping him from staggering at the sudden shift. He had heard of the quirk activations, of course, but to see his successor floating, he was struck with a sense of bitter nostalgia. Nana, he couldn't help but mutter. Surahiko smacked him over the head. Just watch your boy, he muttered, and see how great he is going to become. And he did. He definitely saw how far Midoriya would go. But when Black Whip, the quirk of the fifth user, slammed Overhaul into the pavement and the camera caught a glimpse of the boy's face, Toshinori couldn't help but catch his breath. For a moment, he didn't see green eyes, he saw red, staring down at him with apathy and malice as they exchanged blows. And in the glow of One for All and the bright morning sun, his hair almost looked white. As quickly as it had come, the vision was gone. Gran, he breathed. Do you recall the first time young Midoriya got kidnapped? The information he came back with, from speaking to All for One, I can't seem to quite recall. Gran scoffed. And I thought I was old. Your memory must be going bad. Yes, the brat came back with the harrowing news that the bastard had spawned. Apparently, said spawn was on the hero side, but I wouldn't put much stock in the words of that bastard. Why? Toshinori watched his successor comfort the girl they had also come to rescue and shuddered, pushing the image away. I think we should start, perhaps, trying to figure out who his son is. Sorahiko raised an eyebrow, then squinted at the screen. If you say so. No, it couldn't be him. There was no way. His father was overseas. Surely the boy would know if he was the son of a supervillain. After all, he had been the one to panically deliver the news. And Miss Inca was a lovely woman who would not be taken in by such a dastardly man. No, he simply had to find the real son, because it was not Midoriya. Speaking of the bastard, he's been really laying low, huh? If I didn't know any better, I'd say he wasn't even interested in fighting anymore. It was not. Izuku sneezed and blinked. Sorry, Eri. Someone must have been talking about me. She cocked her head, blinking in confusion. Why would that make you sneeze? He paused for a second, then shrugged with a wry smile. I don't actually know. It's just an old saying, I guess. Now, where was I? She pointed to the spot in the book and clutched the dragon-stuffed animal closer as he resumed the story. The hospital wasn't so lonely, she thought, with her protective dragon. Alright, seedlings, I hope you enjoyed chapter 34 of Traffic Light Trio by Itslivybear.